Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to this edition of the Pest Geek Podcast, the Sunday edition, Business by the Book. And this is the intersection of faith, family, and finances, where we deal with all the issues of business that we have to from a biblical worldview. This is your exit warning. This is a podcast which we're going to go into a Bible study. So if you're highly offended by Scripture, God, and anything that resembles religion, I warn you now that you've been forewarned. Go ahead and exit now and turn it off, unless you actually want to hear what I have to say. And I've titled this Bible study, which is what it is, I want more, or I need more. I need more. And let's get into it, and then we'll discuss it. I'm in Joshua, chapter 17, verse 14. And Ephraim and Manasseh are complaining that they need more territory. There's just way too many people in that little territory, and they need a bigger territory. And here's what it says, and I'm using the New King James. Sometimes I'll use the King James, sometimes I'll use the New King James, sometimes I'll use the NASB, the ASB. Rarely do I use the NIV or any paraphrased Bible for a Bible study. And the reason is I prefer the King James for Bible study, not because it's the only Bible version, it's the authorized version, but because when you're doing Bible study, your translations have errors. And the issue with the King James is that the errors are very well documented in the translation. So you can usually find out where it is if you encounter something that just isn't adding up with your Hebrew, your Greek, your whatever manuscripts, whatever tool you're using for study is just well documented. So there's very ample amounts of Bible study tools available for you to do this. But in verse 14 says, "Then the children of Joseph spoke to Joshua, saying, 'Why have you given us only one lot and one share to inherit, since we are a great people, inasmuch as the Lord has blessed us until now?'" Now, mind you, they're saying they're a great people. The Lord has blessed them. So Joshua answered them, "If you are a great people," there's a tone of a little bit of facetiousness there, "then go up to the forest country and clear a place for yourself there in the land of the Perizzites and the giants, since the mountains of Ephraim are too confined for you." You're whining and complaining about you don't have enough. Well, here's a place for you to go and clear it. But the children of Joseph said, "The mountain country is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites who dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron. But those who are of Beth Shean and its towns, and those who are and those who are of the valley of Jezreel." In other words, these guys are giants, these guys are many, they have this vast army, it's well equipped. So now they give Joshua another excuse of why they can't go there. "And Joshua spoke to the house of Joseph, to Ephraim and Manasseh, saying, 'You are a great people and have great power, and shall not have only one lot, but the mountain country shall be yours. Although it is wooded, you shall cut it down, and its furthest extent shall be yours. For you shall drive out the Canaanites, though they have iron chariots and are strong." Having trouble reading this morning. Grab yourself a cup of coffee and sit back for a minute. We want more. What you've given us isn't enough. The technician will come and say, I'm getting paid a production commission, but my territory isn't big enough. I need more customers. I need you to give me more customers. Split a route, split a territory, and this happens all the time in pest control and in a lot of businesses. Territories get split, incomes drop because you're getting paid production, and now you're saying, I need more. The salespeople complain that you're not providing enough leads. The leads you're providing aren't enough quality. There aren't qualified leads, and they have to qualify the leads now. You sell a franchise, and the franchisee says, well, there just isn't enough in this territory. I need a bigger territory. I want to be able to go here and there. And I have those conversations with people who want to be franchisees. They call me. And they want to be able to go here and there. I says, you don't understand. You're limited to a franchise territory of 500,000 people. Well, that's just not big enough. Then how many customers do you have? Well, none. So you haven't done any work, and you're already estimating that this isn't going to be enough for you. And it's interesting that they have these complaints, and they're not getting things done. Well, you got to understand history. There's history here. If you go up to verse 12, look what the children of Manasseh didn't do. Yet the children of Manasseh could not drive out the inhabitants of those cities. But the Canaanites were determined to dwell in the land. And it happened when the children of Israel grew strong. And they put the Canaanites to forced labor, but they did not utterly drive them out. You see, these guys did not want to do the hard work. You got to understand, whether you agree with this or not, this land was promised to them by God. And they basically were slaves for 400 years. Now, if you go back in history to Abraham, you would notice that Abraham owned a lot of land there. Remember, Abraham was very wealthy. And when you look at where he dwelled, where God told him to dwell, go leave your household and go dwell in this land that I would give you, he actually owned it. And when they went into slavery, and when the children of Israel went into slavery for 400 years, they lost all that. And now they had to go back and reclaim it. And this is what most people don't understand about biblical history. Why did they go to war against all these people? They understand that that was their land. And they went to reclaim it. It was promised to them, and God took them there. And a lot of people just have issues. And I said, I can't argue that with you. I can't explain it to you. This is the way it is. They didn't want to do the hard work of getting rid of the things in their life. The Canaanites were a symbol of things of the flesh and of things that held them back. And instead, they said, we're not going to drive them out. We're just going to make them slaves. Like, that's much better. The problem is they were still there, and they were still being influenced by them. They didn't obey Joshua to get rid of it like the other tribes had done. These guys were lazy. They didn't want to do the hard work. A lot of the times when you get into business, when you're in an employee, the human nature is to be lazy and not do the hard things. There are things that you have that you know you have to do, and you know you should be doing them, and yet you don't. Those are the strongholds in your life. Whether it's, I want to get healthy, but I don't want to give up the food I'm eating. I don't want to stop drinking. I know that it's hurting me. I know I need to get up earlier in the morning, but I'm staying up late at night watching television till 2 a.m. You see, it's about the things in your life that you need to do to be able to have that huge success that's waiting for you. But these things are tripping you up and you're not doing them because they're too difficult. I hear people all the time that says, well, how did you do keto? One day I decided, I woke up in the morning And I said, for 2 years, I've been doing it the doctor's way. For 2 years, I've been doing it this way. My diabetes isn't getting any better. I'm pre-diabetic. The doctor says if I don't do something, but I'm doing everything that you're telling me, the next step is they're going to put me on pills. So one morning I decided, I'm getting up and I said, I'm going to give this keto thing a try. And it required me to get rid of all the bread, all the sugar, all the starches, and go on basically salads and high fats. And I decided to do this 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So I'm going to people's houses for Thanksgiving, and they're like, this was 3 years ago. And they said, well, aren't you going to eat this? And look, eat that. And I'm like, no, I can't. I'm on a diet. How did you go on a diet 2 weeks before? That's crazy. Because I had to do it in order to be, I have to be that drastic and cut things out of my life. Whether it's people that are holding you back. Sometimes you have relationships in your life that aren't helping you get to the next level. They're holding you back. You need to get rid of those relationships. You're with the wrong person in your life. That just isn't, they're going to hold you back the rest of your life. That's tough. There are things. And this is what these guys didn't want to do. But they were bragging about how big they were. That we were a great people. And they're bragging both about the number and how good they are. Yet, you're not putting your money where your mouth is. You're making all these claims about how good of a technician you are. And how good you are at this. And how good you are at that. But it's just everything that you're given isn't good enough. Everything is junk. Instead of looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, what change do I need to make what I have, get the most of what I have? The Lord has blessed us until now. We're growing in multitude. And he says, if you're such a great people, go in the forest. See, you got to go into a new territory that is filled with landmines, and it's filled with, obstacles and people who are going to threaten your way of life. I want to start the new business, but I'm afraid of all this. I said, that's the reality. You're going to have to go out and slay those giants in your life. The mountains are too confined. It still isn't big enough. See, what you want is this wide open area where all the doors open up to you and there are no obstacles. And you are basically content where you're at. And you're not even content, really, because that's a misuse of the word. So many people say, I'm content. No, that's code word for I am just really just tired of life because I'm not getting what I want out of life. So I just decided to say I'm content. And use the word content actually means to be exceedingly happy with what you have. Are you exceedingly happy with the situation in your life right now? See, it gets misused. I'm content. No, you're not content. You've become complacent. And there's a difference between being content and complacent. You've decided this is your life, and this is the way it's going to be forever, and I just got to just accept it. And then say I'm content and put that phony religious, pseudo-religious tone to it to make yourself sound more spiritual so that you're truly happy when you're really not. One thing about me is that I am content no matter what my situation is. I'm just never complacent. I'm going to keep moving forward regardless of my situation, but I've learned to be happy in that situation because I'm thankful for everything I have. I'm thankful for the obstacles. I'm thankful for the mountains to overcome. You're going to have to go up that mountain. And guess what? When you get to that mountain, you're going to have to chop down all those trees. And while you're chopping all those trees, you're going to have to go to war with your competition. That's business. This is why so few people actually do it. You see, they have better marketing than we do, and they have a marketing team. They got the chariots of iron. And that other company I want to go work for, if you don't give me my raise, I'm going to go over there. Yeah, but understand, those guys are sharks over there. They're going to eat you alive because you don't have what it takes to be in that company. You're complaining here about the company you're in, and you think you're going to go over there to that company where they're filling them up with 20 stops a day, yeah, they're making the $6,000 a month, but they're also working Saturdays and they got to call all their clients on Sundays. See, the grass is greener on the other side. You are a great people and have great power. You shall not only have one, but the entire country shall be yours. The mountain of the entire country shall be yours. Although it is wooded, you shall cut it down, and its furthest extent shall be yours. Even though they have all the chariots of iron, even though the problem is you're going to have to go and do the work you can't stomach to do. I can't go in and be cutthroat and do this and that. You're going to have to. The technician will say, well, I'm just not making enough. Well, it all depends on how you're being compensated. The employee, are you getting paid by the hour? Is there overtime available to you? Yeah, but I don't want to work more than 40 hours a week because I want to have a work-life balance. Well, you might not be able to do it at this company. Let me ask you a question. I had this conversation with a tech a few months back. He called me and says, man, I'm stuck at my company. I can't make any more money, and I need to make more money. And we were having a discussion about, can you go work for another company that pays more? No, because of the location is in. Okay. So what are you doing right now? And I consulted him and I said, what are you doing right now as far as work? I'm doing residential. I said, well, have you thought about doing commercial? Yeah, but commercial, you're going to have to work overnight. You're going to have to work from 5 o'clock in the afternoon till 2, 3 in the morning. I don't want to do that. Well, you're going to make 20 to 30% more. You're wanting more money, but you don't want to work the overnight. What about doing audited facilities and looking at becoming an SQL? Because he works for a company that actually does that. There's growth opportunities in that company like crazy. He just can't see them. He can't see them because he doesn't want to do the uncomfortable thing of giving up his free time. He wants to get paid more. He's maxed out at the position he's in. The only way to get more is to get more business, but that's going to put him into working more hours. He doesn't want to work more hours. He doesn't want to upgrade his skills. It's like people tell me, well, how long is it going to take me for me to upgrade my skills and be really good at this? Well, maybe 3, 5, 7 years. Yeah, I don't want to wait that long. Well, let me ask you a question. What are you going to be doing in 5 to 7 years? Chances are you're going to be stuck in the same situation you're in because the 7 years are still going to pass. Why don't you just invest in them? I don't want to put all that going back to school, and I don't want to do this, and I don't want... See, the excuses are abundant of why you're stuck. I don't want to do the hard things. The salesperson will say, well, you know, I just need more leads, and you're tanking, you're only closing 20% or 30%. And you complain that the company hasn't provided you any sales training. Why don't you pay for your own sales training? I paid for my own sales training for decades. I never had the company really depend on them to train me. How many of your leads are you actually following up on after you quote the price? Are you selling or are you quoting? Are you showing the customer what your unique selling proposition is and why they should go with your company? Or are you just simply being lazy and quoting because you're getting 10, 12 leads a day and all you're doing is showing up, looking around the house for 2 minutes. You're not giving any value in your inspection. You're there for 15 minutes. You quoted your price, showed them the contract, asked them to sign, and when they didn't, they said they had to think about it. You just walked away. And then the next day you didn't follow up because you're lazy. And you didn't follow up the day after that, and you're not following up with any of your leads. And you're saying, I need more leads. Well, do you realize what it costs to produce those leads? That it's in the neighborhood of 6 to 10% of sales, of gross sales, not your sales? For you to just treat those leads that they were toilet paper and wipe your butt with it and not own them and say, man, this cost my company money. And and I'm not closing. And I'm not asking for referrals. I don't want to ask for referrals. I don't want to ask for, I don't want to go prospecting. I don't want to knock on doors. I don't want to visit more clients. I want my 8 leads a day, and I want those leads to be quality. They're not quality leads. They're not qualified. I guess what? That call came in because of the marketing department. It is your job as a salesperson to qualify that lead, unless the company has a filtering system where they're qualifying the leads and figuring out where those leads need to go. But if a call came in and says, hey, look, it's in your territory, take the call. Well, what problem do they have? I don't know. Their lead came in, man, take care of it. Go talk to them. That's your job, not mine. A lot of you guys are wanting so much sympathy. One of my sales managers, my boss one day told me, Frank, if you want sympathy, you can find it between syphilis and tsunami in the dictionary. That's cold, man. You see, I want more leads. The leads aren't qualified. You guys that are doing marketing with these marketing companies and are buying leads for $13, those leads aren't qualified. You're getting bulk leads. And it's your job to call them very quickly, within minutes, within seconds of you getting that lead, or you're going to lose it. Yeah, but I'm up in an attic, then don't play that. You can't play in that arena if you can't answer that phone call and get back to the people in 15 seconds. That's the game. And you said the leads suck. I'm getting 10 to 12 leads, and it's costing me, $150 to $200. I'm closing only 1 out of 10 leads. I said, are you a good salesperson as a sole proprietor? Are you able to get that person on the phone and close that appointment and get that appointment on the phone after 15 seconds? If you can't, that's on you. Yeah, but those leads suck. I'm only closing 1 out of 10. It's your job to qualify them. They're not qualified leads. If you got to pay somebody to qualify the lead, here's the reality of what you guys don't understand in business. That somebody needs to do work. Somebody needs to call that client and find out what exactly they need and say, and pre-qualify the call and say, yeah, they got a termite problem and it's this and it's that, and I'm going to send it to the termite technician, and that's work. Somebody needs to pay for that. Now that lead isn't costing $13. That lead is now costing $26 to $30 a lead because somebody had to do the qualifying. And then you get them on the phone and you can't close them because you're not a closer. You're great one-to-one, person-to-person. So you lose half of your leads. And then you don't factor in the cost of the sale or the commission that the company is paying you on top of paying for the lead. So when you look at the cost, it's costing, the average lead really costs about $250. And you're getting GHP leads and you're not closing them and you're only closing 20. The cost is $250 plus your commission. That's the reality of business. The franchisee calls and says, I want a larger territory. I want $1 million. Okay, pay for $1 million. And then you're going to tell me you don't have, you're going to be lazy and the marketing isn't working because you're spread out so far and so thin in your marketing that you're taking a shotgun approach and you're wondering why you're not getting, because you think bigger is better, wider is more. You're not willing to go in and go knock on those doors of all those businesses during the day in your territory because you're expecting the marketing to bring all those calls because you're not a prospector. You don't have the stomach to go out and prospect and knock on doors and take 100 no's in a day. You want the easy yeses. Your skin hasn't been toughened enough yet in business for you to go do this. These are the hard lessons. You want to whine and complain about everything, yet you're not willing to do anything to make that situation better. You get people coming to me all the time. As a boss, I got a very simple policy. Don't come to me with a problem. You got to come to me with a solution. What are you going to do about it? Well, I don't know. You're the boss. You need to no, what are you going to do about it? Okay, when you find out the solution, get back to me on that. Because you're the expert. You're the one you're bringing to me a problem because you're lazy. You don't want to think. You don't want to do the hard work of figuring out. I got people who are telling me, why don't you do it this way? Why don't you do it that way? Because I've done it that way, and I've been doing it for 14 years, and you're brand new at this. You've been at it less than a year, and you start questioning my product. Every time one of my guys questioned my product, I just had it this weekend. He said, I bought one of those yellow cans of foam, man, and it clogged up. And I said, why the hell did you buy a can of foam? Why did you buy a can of foam when I told you that what we use is Daptex? It's in our protocols. Yeah, but they didn't have that one. So why didn't you just go to another store? Why were you so lazy? And then you did something. If that can would have blown up on you, or you got it everywhere inside that cabinet and it foamed up, and we do homes that are $1 million, that cabinet is $2,000-$3,000 for that vanity, and the customer says, I got to replace that entire vanity now. And it's cost me $2,000-$3,000 because you were lazy for a $3 mistake. The hard work of thinking, of evaluating, of going out and tilling the land. Here's what I want employees to go away with this, and I'm going to end. I talked to a lot of technicians that started out with a company, and they started out building a route. The territory wasn't built out yet, and the company is expanding, and they put a tech in that territory. Well, while you're building up your territory, you have a safety net. You got a salary. You got a salary. Whatever it is, $1,500, $2,000, plus they pay you sales commission, that when you go above that minimum, then your commission kicks in and you go into commission. So you have a safety net. And I hear a lot of guys say, the last company I was with, I built up that route, man. I worked all these hours. And then at the end, they sold the company and they left me high and dry. Here's what you got to understand. Throughout the whole process, while they were making no money on that route because there were no customers, you got compensated every step of the way. They paid you a salary when they were making nothing. That's what I'm doing now with a lot of my guys. I'm paying them when we're making nothing in that territory because I'm trying to build it up. When I have to go out and buy it and pay $60,000, $100,000 for an existing business in that territory so I can get the route density, they invested nothing in that. They still got paid while I invested, and I haven't gotten a return yet. And it's going to take a year or two before I get my return back. See, you go into businesses thinking you're doing all this for the company. You realize the company had already invested in infrastructure for decades. They had invested in back-end support for you. Who's getting those calls, those leads? Who's paying for all of that? The company did. Who created the brand image that took decades to build up in the marketplace? Who invested? We invested in you before you invested in yourself. You're tilling, you're harvesting where you sowed nothing into that, except the work, the hard work that was expected of you because you were getting compensated for that work as an employee. You don't have a right to then reap a reward of something that you did not till, that you did not work the land when nobody was paying you, that you didn't plant, you didn't water. You basically went in and said somebody had cleared all the land for you. They took down all the trees. They got rid of all of the pests and stuff in that area. They cleared it out, got rid of all the enemies. And now they're paying you to plant a little seed in the ground in that area and water it. And you're a farmer, but you don't own the land. You didn't do any of that work. See, that's the difference. And you got this mentality that somehow something is owed to you as an employee. If the company chooses, like I am, to do profit sharing and somehow share in the profit, that is because of the company's goodness because they value you more and they have a different culture and a different mindset, but understand it isn't owed to you. If I sell you a territory as a franchisee, it is your job. You're using my brand. You're using my platform. You're using my infrastructure that I spent tens of thousands of dollars developing, and you're not an entrepreneur. You're somewhere between an owner and a manager, but you're still between an owner and an employee. That's what a franchisee is. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you go blaze your own trail. But you're buying into a system that's already established. Everything has been done for you. The only thing you got to do is the hard work of sales and service. And you have to go prospect, and you still have to pay for your own marketing. You're using the brand. You're using that brand equity that means something. You're using a system that has already been proven. That's what you're buying. As a salesperson, if you want to make more money, learn to prospect. Yeah, but I don't want to do that. Then you won't be great. It's that simple. The great guys do the hard work, work the longer hours. This society has gotten into this mind frame that 30 hours a week is going to produce you the $100,000 a year that you want as an income. And somehow these companies owe it to you to pay you that because that's the lifestyle you want. No company is obligated to finance your lifestyle. That is not biblical. If you're a man with 4 children or 5 children, married, and you're the only breadwinner in your house and you need to bring in $150,000, well, you just can't work for me. That's not who I'm hiring right now. I'm hiring people who are single, college, who maybe are married, maybe have 1 child, and both him and his wife work. If he needs to be the sole breadwinner, I can't pay him $70,000, $85,000 a year because that's what he feels he's worth. He may be worth that. He needs to find somebody that's willing to pay for that, or he needs to upgrade his skills and upgrade the difficult problems he's willing to solve for me for him to be worth that. In other words, if you tell me, Frank, I can bring in $500,000 of business this year, and I will prospect, and I will knock on doors, and I will go to these because I can bring it in. I know because I've done this my whole life. I just need a higher percentage for all that work because my company is paying me for leads, and they're paying me 10, 15%. And no matter how hard I work, my commission says, hey, I'll pay you 25 for the results. We're figuring out how we can pay our technicians 25% for technical work, 15%, whether we pay it on a salary or we pay it on a percentage. It's still, look, when I was a manager at a store, I had a P&L, and my labor rate could not go above 14% that month or that week by week. I was limited to 14% on my P&L. If I needed if I needed more hours, I had to be producing more business. So we had to give exceptional support. You want more hours? Make sure that nobody leaves here without buying something. It's that simple. That's the reality. Because I can't pay you more hours for mediocre work for you to be laying around. The hours are going to get cut, and I got 14% budget. No company can go whether they pay you. When they pay you a salary, they're paying it up front. When they pay you a percentage, they're paying you when you produce it. You see, the more you produce, the more you'll make. You're going to have a limit of how much you can produce. Everybody has a physical limit. And what you're wanting is that limit to go up every single year without you producing more. Guess what? The company doesn't make any more money unless they're raising their prices. When we raised our prices, everyone gets a raise. It's based on revenue. That's reality. If there's no revenue, And there has to be a marginal gross profit. We focus on 50%. Some companies are making 60 because they're paying your people $10, $13 an hour for work that is actually 16 and 17 and 18. We don't have anybody at, $12 an hour. So understand, guys, the spiritual message here. You're going to have to do hard work, uncomfortable work. So both the physical, listen, the message here is you have to both do the physical work, but you have to overcome the mental limitations that you're putting on this. It's physical and mental. You're going to have to put in more hours, and you're going to have to push yourself to be in uncomfortable situations, because the reality is you're going to get paid more when you're solving more difficult problems. If you're in a leadership position and you have leadership abilities, can you manage people better than you can do technical work? That will put you in a position of management. Just because you're a great technician and you're the oldest technician and you're solving all the problems and you're the lead technician, that doesn't make you a leader of people. That makes you a great technician that can solve problems that other people can't solve. And you think you deserve a management position because you have that skill. No. To be a manager, you need to be able to motivate your people and your staff to do greater things. That's where value comes in. What value are you bringing to the table? What hard work are you willing to do? What difficult work are you willing to do and challenging in yourself? This is Frank the Pest Geek, wishing you a pestacular day.